Hello, Legacy students. Marsh here. So today we're going to talk about math in programming in Python. So I know I see some of your faces. You're like, oh, math. I don't want to do math. This is a programming class. You are not going to do the math. The computer's going to do it. But we need to know how to tell the computer to tell them to do the math. So that's the focus of today. So the very first operator is the plus sign. So checking out this program, which uses the plus operator to compute the result of a math expression, I print 2 plus 2. Now, what's going to happen is Python is smart enough to do, oh yeah, I can add 2 and 2, and that can make 4. And it's going to print the result, aka 4. So that plus sign is exactly like you know in math. It just adds the two numbers together. You can also assign a variable using math. So I can say my number equals 2 plus 2. So what will happen is inside of the computer, it's first going to decide that 2 plus 2 is 4, and then it will assign inside the memory, inside the box of my number, because remember that's all a variable is a box inside of the computer, it's going to assign a 4. My number will not actually store the math sentence that you place in it. It will store the answer to the math sentence that you placed in there. And then what will happen is I'll print 4. So keeping that in mind as we're continuing going. Now, there are a lot of different operators available in Python. You can add things, you can subtract, multiply, divide. So those are all the normal ones, the ones you guys are used to, okay? So if I wanted to add, it'd be 2 plus 6, 7 minus 3, the normal stuff, right? Now, here's where we get to some different people. Exponentiation, okay? That is 2 asterisks. Oh, by the way, reverse that. Talking about multiplication, notice it's the asterisk. It's not the time symbol because an X is an X on the keyboard. So in programming, they decided to make it the star or basically the shift of the 8. It's on the 8 key is where your asterisks are. Okay? Going back to exponentiation. The 2 stars, 2 asterisks, is for exponentiation. Now, what is exponentiation? So if I go 3 star star 2, I get an answer of 9. You guys have seen exponentiation in something like that. 3 squared. That is what this is, okay? Exponentiation allows you to raise to a power. So I could go 2 cubed, 2 to the 3rd, 1 to the 5th. Stuff like that is what exponentiation is. And then the second guy you guys have not heard of is the modulus or the remainder. He is the percent sign. So if I go 17% 3, I get 2. Let's discuss that a little bit more. What is modular division? Well, when you modular divide, you receive the remainder. Long ago, in a galaxy far, far away, you started learning about division. You were probably in 3rd or 4th grade is when you're first introduced to it. And like, for example, you took 7 and you divided it by 2 using the little house. If you remember that, gotta get myself a little bit more room here. 7 divided by 2. And what happened is you were told, well, how many times can 2 go into 7? You probably would have answered after some thought, well, 3 times, right? 3 2s can go into 7. So then you went, well, 3 times 2 is 6. And then you subtracted and you got to 1. Okay? Now, the important part is when you guys used to put an R up here and then you put a 1. That's probably whispering in the back of your mind. You're probably going, I forgot that I even did that. Okay? Modular division gives you this number right there. So if I go 7 mod 2, I get an answer of 1. What if I go 9 mod 3? How do we get 0? Well, if I go 9 divided by 3, and I ask how many times can how many 3s go into 9, I would answer 3, right? So 3 times 3 is 9. Subtract and we get 0. So there would be a remainder of 0 in this case, aka that's how I get this. Now you're probably thinking, why is this useful? Why would I need to know it? Well, very commonly, we do use remainder math in our brains. If you ever looked on the back of a DVD, or even if you've been on a streaming service. Very commonly, they tell you how many minutes a movie is. So something like a movie might say that it's 121 minutes long. They're not going to tell you how many hours. So what happens is that 121 hours, you think to yourself, well, 1 hour, 60. So 2 hours is 120, and I got 1 minute left. That 1 minute left is you doing modular division in your head. So, very commonly, as a programmer, we want to know what is left behind. What can I get? What is left after I do some division? Also, very commonly, there's a change program that's very common in the regards of we need to figure out how much money is left after you take the number of quarters out of that. So something like, let's say we have 90 cents that we need to give back to someone. Well, you know that there's 75 quarters, or 75 cents is in 90, so you would take out 3 quarters, right? Well, you need to know how much is left behind after you take that 75 cents away from 90. So it's very common to use this remainder idea in programming and also just in our everyday life. Now, there's some operator precedents we need to talk about. AKA, you guys may, not a B. Why did I write a B? Silly pen. Got a mind of its own, I guess. You guys may have heard of this called pemdas in a math class. PEMDAS is our order of operations, who goes first. So again, just like your normal math class, we're going to start with parentheses. That's the first guy that we're going to work with. And then we're going to go to exponentiation. Okay. And then something a little different. This guy's kind of on its own. This is negation. Okay, so let's say I want to make a 3 a negative 3. You could just put a little minus sign in front of it and it'll make it negated. So that guy kind of goes first. And then we get the multiplying and dividing people. Left to right, just like normal math. And then we get the adding and subtracting, left to right, just like normal. So negation's kind of the only guy that's kind of special in his own, but I guess we could say he's probably before the M, no matter what. But normal PEMDAS does land in our idea of mathematics. So constantly we're going to be doing normal math. Math will consistently work just like inside of a math class as it does in computer science. So let's do an example of math. Whew, I know, scary, right? Well, first thing, we're going to have to go into the innermost parentheses. We're going to go to here first, okay? And I first need to take care of the multiplication, right? So I'm going to go 2 times 2. Well, that would be 4, right? Okay, so we're going to figure out what that is. Okay, and then we got to do this. 3 minus 4, that's negative 1, right? Okay, and then we want to know what is 6 plus a negative 1? Well, that's 5. And then we need to know what 5 2 asterisk 2 is. Well, remember that 2 asterisk is exponentiation. So what they're actually asking you is, what is 5 squared? Which we know the answer to be, what's 5 times 5? 5 times 5 is 25. So that is what we would get after the evaluation in our computer. And that's the end of this video. We'll do a little bit of practice with math and do some programs that contain math in them as well, because it's a very common thing to use in our programming. But until then, I will see you later, Sabers.